Hello, my name is Kira, and today I'm going to kind of take you along the entire process of me crocheting this giant 9-foot crocodile. He ended up being about 4 feet wide and, like I said, 9 feet long. And if you want to know how much he weighs, you'll want to stay to the end of this video. I had so much fun making this project, and I'm really glad I get to share the process with you guys. So this is the second giant project that I've ever made, but I knew for this one I wanted to make something that was going to be a lot bigger than the bass, just because I thought it would be, really cool to have something that big. And one of my favorite patterns that I've ever made is my little crocodile pattern, and so I thought it would be fun to try to turn that into this giant version. So the entire thing was based off of my mini crocodile. It's essentially just a scaled up version of the pattern. I used the mini pattern a whole bunch, referenced it a whole bunch, and just kind of scaled it up to make this. Obviously I had to make a couple changes here and there, but this really helped to keep the proportions right, and I still did not expect it to come out as big as it did, but yeah, it really helped to have kind of that reference. So the first kind of step of this process, I decided to start at the nose and then work my way down to the tip of the tail. And since this guy has an open mouth, the first step is kind of making 2 panels that are the mouth and then connecting them together so that it still opens kind of like a jaw. So on the first day of working on this project, I was only able to get 1 panel done as the first part of the mouth, and of course it turned out huge, way bigger than I was expecting. And then on the second day, my main goal was to make the second panel for the mouth and then finish crocheting the mouth together. So that's exactly what I did. I have the 2 panels finished for the mouth, and to attach them so that it still opens like an actual jaw, what I did was I crocheted around the outside of both panels and left kind of the inside open, and you can see that little gap there. And then to close that up, I just sewed the insides of those panels together, so it closed up that gap, but the mouth still kind of open and closed like I wanted. And then moving forward with the rest of the project, I was able to just crochet around the outside just like a normal project. And the next step in this process was getting into those bumps to make the eyes. This was probably the most complicated part of the entire process, and I actually sat down and did all the math before I started, which made a huge difference, so I didn't have to keep restarting and removing stitches and starting over kind of thing. But here is where I ended on day 3, just with the beginning of those eye bumps, and you can already see how absolutely huge it is. So day 4, the main goal I had for day 4 was to finish up the head, and you can see those bumps for the eyes. I promise they'll look a lot better once I add some stuffing. And on day 4, I did actually already have to order some more yarn, because I'd initially ordered 12 skeins of yarn thinking that would be enough for this entire project, and I'm pretty sure I used 36 skeins of the green yarn for this project, so I was way off. So by the end of day 4, you can already see how absolutely huge this is, and it's just the crocodile's head. When I have the tip of the nose on the floor, the body comes all the way up to my chest. For day 5, I was finally going to get started on that main portion of the body. So this was a lot of just doing the same round of single crochets over and over and over again, and it took quite some time. I think I was able to get through 3 movies on this day, but it really helped to just do a lot of stretching, switching positions a lot. So I would go from sitting on the floor to the chair to my couch, and all of that really helped from keeping my arms from getting too tired. And then for day 6, my goal for day 6 was to get the entire body stuffed and then close up the tail so that I would have that whole piece done, and all that would be left was to add on some of the accessories and the legs and stuff. For day 6, I started off by buying 4 5-pound boxes of stuffing, so that would be 20 pounds total. And I, for some reason, thought that would be more than enough, but I ended up using almost 3 full boxes of stuffing just in the head. So I did have to go back to the store and get a couple more boxes to use on the body, and then just had to finish kind of closing up the tail and stuffing it as I go. And then just like look how big this thing is. Once I had the tail all closed with all that stuffing in there, it just is absolutely enormous. It takes up my entire living room. I can barely pick it up by myself. You can kind of see it's just so big, and I think it feels really, really heavy too, just because of how awkward the shape is. But it is bigger than my couch. For day 7, my goal for day 7 was to get all of the legs crocheted. So I once again had to order another 12 skeins of yarn. And then to make sure that the legs were proportionate, this did take a little bit of trial and error. But once I was able to figure out the right size for one of the legs, it was super easy to crochet all the other 3. And you can see how big the legs are, probably like twice as big as my head. Yeah, so once I got one of the legs done, the other 3 were much quicker. They look huge, but when I put them next to the alligator, they look so tiny. And then on day 7, I also decided to paint my eyes. So for the eyes, I couldn't find any safety eyes that were bigger than 60 millimeters, which I just did not think were going to be big enough. So what I did was I ordered some plastic Christmas ornaments from Amazon and painted the inside of them black so that they would kind of look like a regular safety eye. But these are 80 millimeters, so they're a little bit bigger. And if I'm being honest, this crocodile is so big that I think even the 80 millimeter eyes are too small, but I wasn't really sure what else I could find that would be bigger. So this is what we ended up with. So here's day 8, and on day 8, I was really hoping that I'd be able to finish up the entire crocodile on day 8. However, I did run out of time. So I just started by stuffing each one of the legs and then sewing them on to the body. And this was rather difficult because the body's just so big and awkward. So I tried rolling it on its side, which helped a little bit. When I had to do the legs on the other side, I couldn't roll it on its side, so that made things a little bit more difficult. And then I did try to sew the little gap between the eyes together a little bit. It just looked like a really deep gap in between the eyes, which I didn't love. So I tried to sew that up a little bit, which I think it helped. And then I also wanted to do some of the details. So I worked on making the spikes kind of up and down the crocodile's back. And this was so much of like going back and forth from side to side. So at one point I just ended up crocheting the little spikes on their own and then just sewing them onto the back of the body. And then the last little detail that I was able to get done before I ran out of time on this day was the little toes. And I don't have a clip of this, but I added 4 little white toes to each of the legs. And then for the last day, this was day 9. This was all about just getting those finishing details. I wanted to measure and weigh him. The first thing I did was the little teeth. So I just crocheted both of the teeth and sewed them on. And then I also used some of that same green yarn that I used to crochet the head to make nostrils on him. And if you're ever working on a project this big and needing to do some like embroidering or something, I highly recommend doubling up the yarn because that saved me so much time when I was making these nostrils and the toes as well. And then the last step of this project was to attach the eyes. And so since I used those Christmas ornaments, what I did to attach them onto the head was I just used a screw and heated it up in a candle and then used that to kind of poke a hole through the side of the ornament. And then there's also already a hole on the top of the ornament. So I just used those 2 holes to attach the eyes onto the head. And then always I add that little pop of white onto the eyes, which I think made a huge difference because the eyes do look a little bit too small for the giant head, but I think he still looks really cute. So yeah, he came out to be about 9 feet long and about 4 feet wide. I did have to get some help to weigh him, so I had my dad come over and help because it was just so awkward. I just could not pick it up by myself to get it on my back. And I was having trouble weighing him because I couldn't hold him steady, so the scale wouldn't settle on a number, and my dad ended up having to weigh him. But he came out to be 52 pounds. And like I said, I feel like he feels so much heavier because of just how big and like awkward the shape is. But yep, he's only 52 pounds. And yeah, this thing just came out to be ginormous. It's huge. It's very comfortable to lay on like a bed. And yeah, I just had so much fun making this project. I hope you guys enjoyed watching the kind of process of how it came together. If anyone is interested in making this themselves, you can find the pattern linked in the description. And thanks so much for watching, and I hope to see you again soon.